War Thunder has evolved. Gone are the days when a dogfight was just a test of who could turn their rudder faster. Today, the sky is alive with invisible eyes and heat-seeking predators. If you want to survive top tier, you have to speak the language. Welcome to Part 1, Understanding the Fox. You've heard it in the movies. Fox 1, Fox 2. These aren't just cool code words. They are NATO brevity codes used to tell your allies exactly what kind of missile you've just put in the air. Why does it matter? Well, if you're using a radar that might lock them up or a heat seeker that is fire and forget, that's going to depend on the scenario. In this video, we are going to master all three, but before we launch, we need to talk about the circle of death, your seeker HUD. Whether it's radar or heat, every missile starts with a lock. This is your seeker field of view. That's your solid track. As a pro tip, in War Thunder, even if you are able to launch the missile, doesn't always mean a guaranteed hit. Launching the moment the circle turns red is the fastest way to return to the hangar with 0 kills. You have to account for energy, distance, and your target's countermeasures. Before we start with discussing about the missiles, we need to check your keybinds. You cannot play modern jets with the mouse alone. You need to dedicate keys for the following. Weapon selection, that is to switch between the Fox 1, 2, and 3. Lock air-to-air missile, fire air-to-air missile, and countermeasures, because that is a full-time job. If your buttons are ready, we are starting with the most famous missile type in history, the Heat Seeker. In the world of air combat, the Fox 2 is your bread and butter. It's silent, it's deadly, and it doesn't give a warning on the enemy's radar warning receiver. But if you are just pointing your nose and clicking fire, you are doing it wrong. Let's master the Heat Seeker. Fox 2s are passive infrared homing missiles. They don't need to send out a signal, they just look for a heat source. In the early tiers, that means the literal tailpipe of a jet. In the later tiers, all aspect missiles can see the friction hit on the wings or the engine hit from the front. But remember, the sun, your teammates' engines, and even burning wreck on the ground are all hit to the missile. It doesn't have a team, it just has a hunger. Here is the secret to high-level Fox 2 play, the Uncage. Most players wait for the circle to turn red and fire, but if you uncage your seeker, the missile can keep its lock even if you move your plane's nose. This allows you to lead the missile. Instead of firing at where the enemy is, you fire at where they will be. This gives the missile a shorter path to travel and saves its energy for the kill. The Fox 2's greatest enemy are going to be the flares. When it comes to standard missiles, they will always go for the flare because it's hotter than the engine. Then we have the IRCCM, infrared countermeasures. Top tier missiles like the M9M or R73 have tricks. Some shrink their vision so they don't see the flares falling away, others shut off their seeker briefly when they detect a flare. The rule: if you see flares, stop firing. Wait for the enemy to run out of pops, or wait until you are so close they can't even react. Why you should stop firing at max range? A Fox 2 is a short-range weapon. When it comes to the earlier missiles, 1 km to 2 km is going to be your kill zone. When it comes to the later ones, 2 km to 4 km. Anything further and the motor burns out, the missile loses speed, and a simple turn from the enemy will make it miss. Be the predator. Wait until you see the whites of their eyes, or in this case, the glow of their afterburner. So, we can say that Fox 2s are very good for dogfights, but what happens when the clouds are thick, the sun is in your eyes, or your target is 10 miles away? You stop looking for a fire and you start to shine a light. This is the Fox 1, the semi-active radar homing missile. It's faster, it's longer ranged, and unlike the Fox 2, it requires you to be a pilot and a puppeteer at the same time. Think of a Fox 1 like a flashlight in a dark room. Your plane is the flashlight, and the missile is a moth. The missile doesn't have its own radar, it only sees the energy reflecting off the target from your radar. The golden rule: If you turn off the flashlight, the moth goes blind. If you lose your radar lock for even a second, the missile loses its paint and self-destructs or flies into the dirt. In War Thunder, not all radar locks are equal. You got the standard search, great for high altitudes but easily confused by the ground, or ground clutter. Post Doppler, PD, the modern standard. It filters out the ground by looking for the relative velocity. The catch, if the enemy flies perpendicular to you, so 90 degrees, meaning they notch, their relative velocity becomes zero. Your radar thinks they are a mountain and drops the lock. If that happens, your Fox 1 is dead in the air. Fox 1s are not dogfight missiles. They are heavy, they are fast, and they take time to wake up. The range, ideally, fire those between 8 kilometers and 20 kilometers. When it comes to the launch, try to have a high to low advantage. Firing down at the target makes it much harder for them to notch you against the horizon. Just like the Fox 2, don't point your nose directly at them. Give the missile a lead angle so it doesn't have to bleed all its speed turning at the start. The radar doesn't care about IFF or identification friend or foe. Once the missile is off the rail, if a teammate flies between you and your locked target, the missile might switch targets to the bigger reflection. Don't be that guy. Clear your lanes before you paint the target. So we've chased the heat and we've painted the target with our own radar. But in the modern meta of War Thunder, standing still to guide a missile is a death sentence. You need a weapon that can think for itself. Enter the Fox 3, the active radar homing missile. It's the ultimate expression of fire and forget, and it has changed the game forever. Unlike the Fox 1, which is a moth following your flashlight, the Fox 3 carries its own flashlight. Initially, your plane sends data to the missile to tell it where the enemy is. Once the missile gets close enough, usually around 10 to 15 kilometers, its internal radar turns on. This is the moment the missile goes Pitbull. It no longer needs you. You can turn 180 degrees, dive for cover, or lock onto a second target while the first missile finishes the job. The Fox 3 has a dangerous secret, the Mad Dog. If you fire a Fox 3 without a radar lock, it will fly straight and turn its own radar on immediately. It will lock onto the first thing that it sees. And when it comes to the first thing that it sees, includes your teammates. Only a Mad Dog if you are absolutely sure the airspace in front of you is clear of friendly wings. Since everyone has Fox 3s at top tier, you need to know how to survive them. You should not wait for the warning. If you see a launch at 40 kilometers, assume it's coming for you. Just like Fox 1, Fox 3s use post Doppler, fly 90 degrees to the missile and dub chaff. If the missile is Pitbull, sometimes the only way to win is to turn your tail to it and outrun it. Use the thick air at low altitudes to bleed the missile's energy. The true power of Fox 3s lies in TWS mode. You can track multiple enemies without giving them a hard lock warning. You can repel fire 3 missiles at 3 different players, and by the time they realize they're being hunted, it's already too late. This is how you control the map. From the simple heat seekers of 1950s to the autonomous killers of today, mastering the Fox is the journey of every War Thunder pilot. Knowledge is your best weapon, more than your engine, more than your airframe. Now get out there, check your six, and happy hunting.